What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Ventures Tower, and Moon Knight, the finale of this first season. And I say first season intentionally because I definitely think after the end of this episode, we're getting a season 2. But either way, the finale for the show's first season took place last night. I recently rewatched the episode, so I've watched it twice now. And I want to kind of give my thoughts on this finale episode, but also just the show in general. But let's start with the finale and then we'll just kind of think about the show overall, right? I will say that I liked but didn't love this finale. I think it does a really good job of tying a lot of the plot points up and also teasing out, of course, big ones for season 2. And it accomplishes a lot of the things that I wanted it to accomplish before going into the episode. I mean, you see a ton of action in this episode. I feel like the action with Mr. Knight was awesome, with him using the batons really well. I thought Layla looked really good and her action sequences were really cool as the Scarlet Scarab. I felt like Moon Knight himself actually had a lot of cool scenes. There was the scene with the sort of Batman-esque grapple hook and he's coming out of the shadows and kicks Harrow. And I love the freaking gods fighting each other. And honestly, like, there's some really wild comic book panel looking shots in this finale that just made me smile. Like one where Harrow is walking towards the downed Moon Knight and behind him you see Khonshu and Amit actually fighting. It's freaking sweet, dude. There's a lot of fun stuff like that. So the show and this episode in particular, just to me, it sort of rides on the wings of its own ambition. It does some really wild stuff, which I really respect. But overall, it's a pretty uneven episode. There's weird pacing issues. There's some moments like when Mark is actually resurrecting or being resurrected that are weird. There's like weird cutting there that really throws me off. There's the aspect that the hippo goddess is speaking through dead people to Layla, trying to get her to resurrect Mark. And then in the following scene, we see her telling Mark to choose paradise and death in the field of reeds. It's like really uneven. It actually doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't hate Layla getting the powers in being the avatar of the hippo lady. I don't hate it. It does feel a little bit unearned and a little bit just forced into the end so that you have her doing some cool stuff that maybe you can build on in season 2. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure some people really liked it and thought she was awesome. I didn't like hate it, but it does add this other thread into the show at the very end, which I just don't know if you need. Like, I would have been perfectly fine with Mr. Knight and Moon Knight actually just being the ones to fight Harrow and, that kind of a thing. There are two things that happen in this episode that again happen off camera, which really irks me because they were things I really would like to see. One is when Harrow fights all of those god avatars in the temple. We literally just cut away and then he's defeated them. And then, of course, when Jake Lockley takes over for Steven and Mark and totally decimates all the people in the street, including Harrow, that seems nuts, and I would have loved to actually see that in this episode. So I guess without the post-credit scene, I'd probably have to say like good but not great. And it seems like another one of these scenarios where Marvel does some really, really smart things with a show on Disney Plus, and it sort of sets up this expectation of like, wow, this thing is operating on another level, and then it just doesn't quite stick the landing, and all of this potential seems kind of wasted. Like, frankly, it's kind of one of those shows that thinks it's way smarter than it is because it's fun and there's a lot of intriguing stuff, but ultimately the ending kind of gets jammed together in a way that I think belittles some of the mystery and the intrigue that was set up before it. It doesn't kill it for me. It's similar to the WandaVision ending. I think it's better than the WandaVision ending, but it's not as good as the Loki ending to me. Now, having said that, this post-credit scene is the best post-credit scene we've gotten in some time. I would say Marvel movie or Marvel show. It's absolutely incredible. Introduces a really weird element to Khonshu. Loved the Jake Lockley representation at the end and what he did, and he actually just takes out Amit and Harrow, of course, and that was freaking sweet. But also just having Khonshu in the back of that limo, and he seemed way less friendly, way more dark and sinister, and that's really, really intriguing and sets up some really fun things to explore explore in a season 2, which I think at this point we're all pretty sure we're getting a season 2. And I guess just when it comes to the show in general, it's a good show. Like, there's a lot of really fun stuff in here. And of course, the Steven character is really endeared to many people in the audience. Different viewers love Steven. And so it was cool to see him and Mark find some way to work together. They'll likely have to work together against Jake and possibly other people in season 2. So that's really cool. And, you know, I was pretty curious going into to the finale, like, would I want another season? Am I going to be okay with just one season? Do I want to go back to this world? And with that intriguing post-credit scene and the fun that Oscar Isaac brings to this role, absolutely I want a season 2. So I'm 100% all in for season 2, and I would expect season 2 to be much better. This show is really, really fun. I think some of the action that's in the last episode could be just sprinkled out a little bit more throughout the show. I also kind of get the feeling that this show in general sort of removed a lot of the connective stuff to the MCU because there's so much stuff shifting around for Marvel right now. And, you know, I think that's actually going to change. So it's interesting because I really like this show. I didn't absolutely love the show. I don't know if I'll revisit it anytime soon. Like, maybe I'll revisit it getting ready for season 2. But I think it really does accomplish the role of introducing this character in an intriguing way. I want to see more from this character, but I do hope that there are certain aspects handled better in season 2. And like, I'm just going to say it, for me, I just don't know that if this was not an MCU character that I would actually really be into this show, because it's cool, and as cerebral as it is and how as you know brilliant as these performances are, it doesn't actually like bring itself home in a really satisfying way. Like, there's other television out there that I think just does a way better job of actually setting up these intriguing elements and then paying them off. Like, a lot of stuff kind of gets forced together in the ending, and it's almost like the show should have been more MCU throughout, because the MCU elements that are injected into the finale are actually a little bit jarring to the pacing that was established before. So I hope they make some improvements into season 2. But yeah, I'd be super intrigued to see this character. And I hope that, you know, now that we're probably getting more of a plan for Marvel, you know, Feige's sort of been talking about the 10-year plan, and we're getting away from all of the production issues that happened because of the pandy and, you know, maybe other things that were going on with Marvel. My point is, what I'm trying to freaking say here is that I think season 2 could be much better, because maybe they'll be able to fit it in to other fun stuff that's going on with a Blade, with a Werewolf by Night, with Dracula, with different supernatural things happening in the MCU. I think Mark and this character they've created here, this would be such an intriguing and interesting character to inject into a setting like that, where he has to work with all of these other characters and, you know, be injected into a Marvel team up or fighting with other Marvel characters to overcome some great evil. I think that's really where a lot of the juice would be. And I'm in for that. Like, that is an element of sort of promise for this character in the show that, at least from my personal fandom, like, keeps me coming back and has me intrigued on what they'll do next. So even though I might have to think more about this, I would say that Moon Knight is probably my second favorite Marvel MCU show, but to me, Loki is still just so far out ahead of all the other shows in quality that it's, you know, that's, I guess, where a little bit of my disappointment comes from. But overall, like, again, super cool show, super fun. But I'd probably have to say it's really far away from the quality of Loki, but still really good, and probably my second favorite show. More complete than a lot of the other ones. Definitely better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Very close to WandaVision in quality, and I would say better than Hawkeye as well. Definitely let me know your thoughts on the finale and on Moon Knight as a whole. Do you want a second season? Smash like on this video if you liked it. And remember, as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.